In part 2 of our series on looping, we'll take a look at the acoustic guitar with a reasonably simple setup for the singer-songwriter. So stay tuned. Before we get into the mechanics of looping for this part of the series, we'll do a quick rig rundown. For this lesson, I'm just going to use my standard acoustic guitar. I'm going to use that into LR Baggs DI. I like this DI. It gives me a fair amount of bottom end for the guitar. Makes it sound pretty good. Now, I'll point out with my feet here. You'll notice there's some pedals underneath my feet here. We are bypassing those for this part of the lesson. So we're going directly from the Baggs DI straight over to the Mackie submixer. And I go into great detail in the submixer in the third lesson, but I will show you a picture of it briefly. So basically, it's just acoustic guitar to the DI, to the Mackie mixer. You will require a microphone with an on-off switch to go to the channel 1 of the submixer. The reason you want this is to avoid any unwanted noise while looping. You would need to shut the microphone off. So in the next part here, I'll show you quickly the Mackie mixer I use, and then we can go from there. Down on the floor, and I'll point this out on the camera, we have a small Mackie submixer, tiny, basically a 3-channel mixer. And so we're going to plug the microphone into channel 1 and the guitar into channel 2. Then we will send the output of the mixer into the left input of the boomerang looper. And then the left output of the boomerang looper over to your PA system or front of house or whatever you choose to amplify your music through. Now you could just get a 1/4-inch adapter for your microphone and plug that straight into the looper and have your guitar straight into the looper on the right and left inputs. These are stereo loopers. But then you would have to send out a stereo signal to the PA, so it's a bit more complicated. I tend to go mono for these live shows, and with the Mackie mixer, we just use the left side, keep everything in mono to the left, and at least with the Mackie mixer, you have some sort of control before it gets to the looper. Now, the looper itself also has separate volume controls for mixing. That gives you a secondary set of controls to make your mix just right. And of course, that comes down to taste for your particular needs. So it's as simple as that. DI, channel 2 for guitar, microphone channel 1 to the mixer, and make sure you have some type of microphone that has an on-off switch for it. There's a couple of different ways you can build your loop, but however which way you build it, timing is key. Timing. As we discussed in the very first lesson in this series, timing is everything. Now, for this particular setup, I'm just going to work with parallel looping. I like it that way. Parallel means there's going to be one master loop, and everything will sync to that loop in whatever your multiples are. I like to work in 4/4. You can do waltzes, a 3/4 time if you're good, but that first loop is ever so important. So for this particular looper, I'm going to set up the first loop, which is the master loop, and I'm going to do it in a count of 4. You saw the 4. Okay. The key thing too is do not forget to shut your microphone off, and I'll say this over and over and over, but now we're going to add a percussion loop to the second loop, which will be synced to the loop I just laid down. Now I did that in a multiple of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I'm going to overdub a percussion part on top of that shaker on loop 2. Now when I do the overdub, I just have a quick switch right here on this foot, and I'll set it up for you. Okay, so now you'll see the flashing yellow light. That means we're armed and ready to go. Now when I go to do the overdub, that light will flash slower, and that is an indicator that we are now recording. Okay, so now I've added that. It's synced up. If I want to undo that, I go to the top switch. I can undo it. If I want it back, I can add it back in. If I want to shut the loop off altogether, and it's off. Now we'll add a third loop. Don't forget to shut the mic off. You'll notice that loop, I did a run of 16 bars. So it's a multiple of the 4. The timing will still be the same. I'll kick both loops back in, and it's going to take time to catch up. And here we go. So it makes it very simple. It just means you have to do extra footwork. Okay, so it's as simple as that. Now there's another way to approach this. We're going to erase all of these loops, and that's a quick foot switch right here. They're gone, the lights are out. Now there's another way you can approach this, and that's as opposed to playing the rhythm guitar, you can set it up percussion first. So I'll do it this way. All right, so there's our timing, very important. Now I'm going to overdub a shaker on that. Right, so now that is the master loop, and here we add a second loop. Okay, so now the second loop is in. I'll shut the drums off. And we're to there. Turn them back on. That loop, I went another 16 bars, which is a multiple of 4 that can show you what we can do. Back in. Right, so very simple. Now it means you got to do a little extra footwork. Like I said, you might want to shut this one off. Maybe turn it on, lose the other loop. Maybe lose the drums. Drums back in. So that's what you can do with 3 discrete loops with plenty of overdubs. Now what we'll do in the next part is I'll actually play you a song from one of my records using this, a very sparse acoustic song, and it will show you what actually can be done. So we'll play a song here from my loop record entitled Bricks. This song was released in 2015. I tend to play this song live every night using a looper. And the basics are the same. I'm going to set a rhythm guitar down first as my time, and then I'm going to add the rest of the stuff as we go. Of course, don't forget to shut the mic off when you're not using it. Okay, so I've set solid loop up. I'm going to set the shakers up way over on the first loop. Excuse me, it'd be loop 3, considering that the first loop was the master. Okay, so the shaker now is off on loop 3 all by itself. And we'll add percussion. Now I did forget to turn the mic off there. Let's see what kind of noise we have. So there's just a little bit in there, which is not a problem now. But if you're playing in a loud club with big subwoofers, that will be a problem for you. So I can't stress enough to make sure that you shut the mic off. So we're going to redo this loop now. I'm going to get rid of it. Flashing red. It's gone. Mic off. And now we're discreet. I'm going to add one more part on the master loop. We basically have the song set up and ready to go now. I'm going to shut the drums off for the first verse. You can't build a house if you can't afford the bricks. And the people on the top, they keep playing tricks, and you gotta work for yourself. Think for yourself. You gotta own your own self, and you gotta do it by yourself. It don't matter how much money that you got, there's always gonna be the people that have not, and you gotta work for yourself. Think for yourself. You gotta own your own self, and you gotta do it by yourself. Now you'll notice that I've been shutting off the high guitar part, and that's an undo. And that's very key because you can only undo the last thing you recorded. So it kind of gives you added value as a fourth loop, but you can only undo that, which means you have to think about the hierarchy of how you want to build your song. So I tend to add that for the chorus. So here we go. The more time that you spend will be the less time that you got. The more time that you spend, best time that you got. Well, it's better to help your friends than to fight the man on top, and you gotta work for yourself. Think for yourself. You gotta own your own self. You gotta do it by yourself. So I'll shut it off again, and this is where we'll do a little guitar solo. get rid of the drums altogether on the second loop, and I will add in the last guitar part. When you find your bricks, you can find to build your house. The friends that you made, they'll be sure to help you out, 'cause they took the time ahead and they thought for themselves, and you gotta work for yourself. Think for yourself. You gotta own your own self, and you gotta do it by yourself. I'll take that guitar part out. We're at the end of the song. You gotta work for yourself. All right, then we'll remove the guitar. Here we go. So that's what you can do with a basic acoustic looping rig. Again, I can't stress enough, timing is important for that first loop. You have to have the right timing. If you're off a little bit, it's like building a house on shaky ground. That never works out. Well, I hope you've enjoyed part 2 of this series in looping. I hope I've been able to help you a little bit. Stay tuned for part 3. We go deep diving with electric guitars and a kick drum, and basically a one-man band situation. And if you're enjoying these videos, please consider subscribing to YouTube. Also, my Patreon account, which is patreon.com/Dan Walsh. And we'll see you in the 3rd chapter. Take care.